technical difficulty. We are experiencing technological delay as we wait for the YouTube stream to begin. After the YouTube stream begins, I will begin. Well, a few minutes after. All right, now let me go to YouTube and do a search for Theology Central. All right. Now let me go to YouTube. All right, let's do that. The notification just went out. And hopefully we can begin here in just a second. I hope we can. I'm going to go to Sermon Audio really quick, maybe, if Sermon Audio will open. All right, we're the only one broadcasting. Oh, that's a good thing or that's a bad thing, because I'm the only one broadcasting when I'm about to talk about something that probably no one listening to Sermon Audio would want me to be talking about. But here I am, once again, doing it my own way. All right, here we go. All right. I'm the only one broadcasting. All right, so there we go. I think we're good. I hope this goes well. I sure do. I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope it does. We'll give it a couple of minutes here. All right, connection seems stable. I don't think we're going to get probably too many people tuning in for this episode, but that's okay. That's okay. I mean, come on. This has to be the most interesting podcast on the internet. Okay, I don't know about that. Variety is a good thing, right? Oh, the map's not working. I was thinking nobody's going to tune in, but the map's not working because I hit play on YouTube, hit play on Sermon Audio, and neither one of them is recording a listen. So that tells me the map is not working. And I just hit the microphone and knocked it halfway across the room. I can't knock it that far. It's attached to an arm, which is attached to this table. So really, I just hit the arm of the microphone. And I don't even know if does that register sound? Oh, I guess it does. All right. Oh, of course, someone is calling me. Someone's always calling me. All right. Okay, we'll begin here in just a second. Someone is tuning in using, I'm assuming, well, they're not showing up. They just show up on my analytics as unknown. So I'm assuming they have their IP address blocked or something. Okay. So, which is cool. I saw that earlier. I had an unknown and I'm like, what is that? I like to know where, but you know what? If I don't know, as long as someone's listening, I don't care where they're listening from. Maybe it's the US government tuning in. All right, we're going to begin here in just a second. I could go all conspiratorial good night, right? Hey, those podcasts are the ones that get all the listens and all the downloads and all the streams. All right, I think we're good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. I'm going to open up my notes. All right, I think I'm ready. I worked a while putting this together. I think I've got it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central podcast, making theology central.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, August the 27th, 2025. It is currently 3:39 p.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio located right here in Abilene, Texas. Now, it was May 1979, right here in Abilene, Texas, all right? May 1979, right here, Abilene, Texas. I could take you to exactly where the movie theater was located, but it was May 1979. I was around 10 or 11 years old. And like a lot of kids in the 1970s, the world was, well, can we say a little different or can we say a lot different? I think we can say the world is a lot different today than it was in the 1970s and 1979, especially I think for kids, because back then parents didn't really hover the way they do now. Because you see, it's May 1979 and my mom just drives me up to the theater, buys me a ticket and says, see you in a couple of hours, and just leaves me there on my own. No cell phone, no check-ins, just me. I took the money that I had, I bought a Coke, I bought some popcorn, and I walked into the theater because it was opening night for a new movie. Right. And that's basically how I ended up at the movies. I ended up is like, oh, it's movie night, opening night. OK, what's new? And just, OK, here we go. Buy your ticket. See you later. We'll come back in a couple of hours. Yeah, I mean, basically didn't even tell me not to get in trouble. Just left me there. 10 to 11 years of age, somewhere around that. And I'm at the movie theater by myself, going to see a movie. In many cases, I didn't even know what movie I was going to see. They just handed me the ticket and pointed me that one, and I just walked in. I had no idea what I was about to witness or about to see. So I took my seat, not having any idea about what I was about to step into. The lights dimmed, the previews rolled, and then it began. Alien. Now, at that time, maybe for me and my memory, maybe even for me in reality, it was one of the most terrifying films anyone had ever seen. The atmosphere, the shadows, the sheer dread that built on the screen. It wasn't just entertainment. It was an experience that left me kind of a little bit frightened, a little bit shaken, probably psychologically scarred. I mean, most of the movies I ended up in when I was a kid did leave me basically psychologically scarred. There's no way to get around it. I mean, there was no one there to talk to me about the movie after. There was no one there to explain to me what I just saw. It was usually just me alone in a movie. All right. That's the way it worked throughout most of my childhood, right? We would be taken, when my brother was with me, sometimes it was usually just me, I'd be taken, and most of the time, to Butternut Street, Abilene, Texas, and there was a theater called the Metro, not the Metro Music Theater, the Metro Movie Theater, and I would be dropped off. Now, the great thing about the Metro is they showed 2 movies, right? So this was great for my parents, right? Because back in the 70s, you didn't pay for a babysitter. You either left the kids by themselves or you just took them to a movie theater, bought the ticket and said, okay, there's 2 movies. We'll be back in 5 hours, whatever the case may be. And then when the movie was over, you just stood in front of the theater, just stood there, just sat there waiting, hoping your parents, there was no way to call them. Sometimes they showed up at a pretty close to the time you got out. Sometimes you sat in front of the theater for 30 minutes or an hour. But, hey, that's the way it was in the 70s. But the thing is, it didn't matter what was showing. They just bought the ticket and you went in. And it's not like the movie theater was like, this kid's too young. They didn't care. It was just the way it was in the 70s. So I got to see everything. And most of the time I had no clue what it was. But in this particular case, oh man, I had no idea. I was like, what do I do? Where do I hide? Where do I run? No. Nobody. At that moment, I was against all space exploration. I'm calling the Congress, I'm calling the president, stop all space exploration. I have seen Alien. We do not want to go up there. No. Don't send any signals up there. Turn everything off. We don't want them to know we are here. Let's hide. Let's build a way to camouflage Earth so that the aliens cannot find. That was basically, I was against all space exploration at that point. I didn't want to hear about the space shuttle. I didn't want to hear about anyone going to the moon. I just shut it all down because there is bad things out there. That was my mentality because the movie scared me absolutely to death. But at the same time, I was scared. But that night, I was introduced to a universe that would end up staying with me for the rest of my life. In some ways, it wasn't just another monster movie. It was the beginning of a story world I would go back to again and again and again. I watched every sequel, every prequel, every spinoff. I watched it multiple times. I've seen all the Alien movies multiple times. I've seen them all. I've lived in that universe. In some ways, I've studied it. I've thought about it. So when I heard that FX was going to do a brand new series called Alien Earth, I was excited and I couldn't wait. I was like, oh, got to see this. Have to see this. I don't even know. I think it's been within a year that I went back and watched all the Alien movies again. I think somewhat in preparation for the series. But I knew it was coming and I could not wait. I wanted to see, and I did not want to watch trailers. I didn't want to read anything about it because I think I'm always opposed to trailers and reading about a movie because of the way it was when I was a kid. I was just dropped off. I didn't know what I was going into. I had no clue what I was, and sometimes I didn't even know the name of the movie. I was just like, here's the ticket, walk in, and I'm like, what is that? Okay, what is happening to me? Help! Okay, and there was no help. There's no escape. Once you check in, you can't check out. To quote, okay, never mind. I'm going to quote musical lyrics. Okay, but in some ways, I love that. I love going in blind, right? And so like, if someone would say, hey, pick something for us to watch, I'm going to be like, okay, I picked something. What is it? I'm not telling you. Like to me, you should experience not knowing what you're getting ready to watch. You don't know the name. You don't know anything. And I carry that over even into my music, right? Because when I would buy music at the record store, what I would do is usually I would buy one album that I would be familiar with, know the artist, excited about, and then I would just go walk up and down the aisles, of the music store looking and the record bins and just pick something random. Have no clue who the artist is. Don't even know what genre it is. I don't know anything. I picked it as random as possible because I like that discovery, right? Watching a movie you know nothing about. It's like entering into a new world, it's like you're an explorer. You don't know what it is. When you open up that album, you have no clue anything about it. And you put the needle on the record or you hit play on the CD player, however you're listening to the music. You don't know what it is. I love that. I like that not knowing. Like same with books. I would go purchase just go through a bookstore and just pick something just randomly. Have no clue if I'm going to like it, hate it, because it's new. It's exploration. So so with this, I didn't want to know anything about it. I wanted it to be like, I wanted to be clueless as much as possible, right? But from the very opening scene of Alien Earth, I knew this wasn't just going to be another sci-fi story with monsters lurking in the shadows. Because this time it felt different, very different to me from maybe the Alien movies. Because in some ways, I thought some of the later Alien movies was just kind of retelling the same story. I kind of felt like in some ways it became a little bit redundant. I thought the first one was brilliant, amazing. But some of the ones after, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I felt like that they didn't move the story forward. And I know that's probably being a little too critical, maybe after seeing them numerous times. But the first time, the first one will always be my favorite, all right? But when I watched Alien Earth, it felt different. It felt like it was pointing forward. It didn't want to just retell the old story. It was pointing forward. And in some ways, I felt like it offers a vision of kind of a maybe your future, my future, depending on your age. Maybe it's not our future. Maybe we're not going to live to see it, but maybe it's going to be in the very near future. Maybe the next generation will see the future that Alien Earth points to. Now, what kind of struck me, even more than maybe a glimpse into my future or a very near future, I think what struck me even more than that was how and this really caught me off guard. It was very unexpected how it drew. So Alien Earth, what was very unexpected to me is it drew from one of my favorite books of all time. Suddenly I wasn't just watching science fiction. I was watching a narrative that had borrowed from a story that I have loved since my childhood. Now, I'm not going to name the book yet, but if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know the book I'm referring to. It's the book that I found in the Abilene Public Library, because just as I would be dropped off alone at the movie theaters, just like I would be dropped off alone everywhere, from kindergarten, I would catch the bus, ride it to the Abilene Public Library, and be there by myself for hours and hours. And one day, going through the rows of books, I found this book. And I went to the table, I opened, I started reading, and all of a sudden, I was taken somewhere else. It's like I found the book. I found the book. And immediately all I could think about, this book is not for anyone else. Nobody else should read this book. This book does not belong to anyone. No one else has the right to this book. No one should touch this book. This book is mine, right? Not just like that copy, but I didn't want anyone to even know the story. The story had to be for me alone, I felt. So what did I do? I went and after I read the whole thing just sitting there, and then I'm like, I gotta hide this so nobody can find it. So I don't even know which section I put it in. I put it some bizarre section so that when I come back to the library, I would go and, is it still there? Sometimes it was still there. Sometimes those evil librarians would put it back in the section, and I'd be like, how dare you? And I think finally the librarian kind of caught on, why do you hide that book? And I'm like, because it's special. It belongs to me. Like, I don't want anyone to see it. So I think she kind of played along with me. Okay, I'll keep it protected. I won't let anyone I think she was like, just tried to humor me. I mean, I was a kid, right? But for me, and so I was captivated that here's Alien borrowing from this beloved childhood book. And I'm like, how do these two worlds work together? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. So in some ways it took this, beloved story from my childhood, but it reimagines it in kind of the darkest of ways. And not only that, not only do I get this possible future, not only do I get this beloved childhood story reimagined in dark ways, every single episode up to this point has given me hours and hours of questions to wrestle with, philosophical questions about what it means to be human, ethical questions about the limits of science and power, and most importantly, theological questions about life, death, and immortality, all wrapped up in Alien Earth. Currently, you can stream it on Hulu if you have a Hulu subscription. It's airing on FX, and there's a new episode right now as I speak. So why am I talking to you? Because I'm waiting till tonight, and I'm going to watch it because I cannot wait to see the next episode. Because all the other episodes have been, wow, what is this? Like, it really, like, I was expecting, like, okay, Alien Earth, okay, it's going to be, all right. And so far, it did not follow my expectations, and it far exceeded whatever. And I've loved it so far. Now, I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, I think tonight is episode 4 or episode 3. It's episode 3 or episode 4. I think it's episode 4. I think the first night they did 2 episodes, if I remember correctly. So, but it's available for streaming. Now, let me make it very clear. If you know anything about the first Alien movie, if you know anything about the sequels and prequel, and if you know anything about any of them, by no means am I saying these are Christian films. I'm not saying that, right? I'm saying these are movies and they have stories. And will you agree with those stories or disagree with those stories? We can have that whole conversation about how Christians should approach art. I'm not telling you to watch it, so don't get offended and say, how dare you? You don't have to watch it. I'm talking about what's in it, and we're going to discuss it from a philosophical, theological perspective. All right? So, before we dive into all of those questions, and before we dive into all of the implications, let's kind of start with the basics, right? what exactly is Alien Earth about? What is it actually about? And what kind of world does it drop us into from the very, 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 very beginning? FX's, I should say it that way, FX's Alien Earth takes us into a near future world shaped by humanity's relentless pursuit of survival and immortality. It's a science fiction story, but one that feels unsettlingly close to our own reality. Advances in technology, artificial intelligence, and bioengineering have blurred the lines between human and machine, raising the question, what does it even mean to be human anymore? So it raises the question of immortality. Can we achieve immortality? What would that mean? Wait, what does it even mean to be human? And if you do this, this, and this, and this, and this, is that a human? Is it not a human? How do we understand it? The show, in a sense, kind of opens with kind of a description of the state of the earth and how it has become inhabited in ways never seen before. From the very beginning, the audience is confronted with the idea that the world we know has shifted, that humanity is no longer one unified category, but has fractured into something far more complex and strange. It's not just humans. See, we're fractured in our current state, right? Because of human sin, we have been fractured and divided over everything from race, gender, identity. We fight over everything. We want, on one hand, we want everyone to be just like us, and anything that's different, then we attack and we condemn and we hate and we don't want. Okay, we don't. On one hand, we want everything to be the same, and so we divide over. It can be political, geographical, race. It can be any kind of differences. But this show, FX's Alien Earth, we're not. In this case, how can I think of this way? And I can try to describe it this way. It's no longer just the human race as we know humanity or as we know humans. The world that opens up the show is one that is fractured into something very complex and very strange, but I think one that may not be that far off, possibly, at least to a certain level. I think there's one level that it may go that I don't think we can ever truly achieve, but well, we'll talk about it and I'll get it more details in a minute. And this kind of opening sets the stage for the rest of the series. It explores identity, it explores survival, it explores power in a world where the old boundaries of life, death, and human nature no longer hold. The opening of the show, the very opening. Look, if you don't do anything, if you have Hulu, find FX's Alien Earth and just hit play for episode 1. Just watch the first couple of, I don't even know how fast, I would have to, I should have went back and looked to see how quickly you'll see it. You'll see it on the screen because the opening actually identifies 3 specific categories of beings that now inhabit the earth. Right? That's what you're going to see right from the very beginning. The opening actually identifies 3 specific categories of beings. Now, I thought about this. The show opens up with showing 3 categories of beings, but it's clearly implied that there are 4. The 4th one is not named, but it's clearly implied because it's the baseline category of being, all right? And so we'll break this down. So you have the opening sequence of Alien Earth, and it lays out that the Earth in the very near future is populated by 3 distinct categories of beings, all right? And we can call them guises. I don't know how we will want to describe them, but we'll just call them 3 categories of beings because they represent the different technological paths in the race of immortality. So you basically have these 3 categories of beings, guises. I don't know exactly the words you want to use, but they show each category is really one path or one stream to try to ultimately get to the ocean of immortality. Think of them as three different streams, all trying to get to the same ocean, which is immortality. Right? But these three categories are these. Number one, cyborgs. Now, you've heard of cyborgs. They've been in movies. You've talked about them. They've been discussed over and over and over. These are kind of cybernetically enhanced humans. Is that a good way to say it? Cybernetically enhanced humans. Individuals who retain a living human body, but they're augmented with mechanical or artificial parts. So it's a cyborg. It's a human, but it's augmented with technological or mechanical or artificial parts. A cyborg. All right? I think we get the idea. It's a cybernetically enhanced human who retain a living human body, but augmented with mechanical or artificial parts. So let's say if we try to take this to the realm of immortality, all right? So let's say you get a cybernetically enhanced heart that just will beat forever. It will never run out. It will never stop. Cybernetically enhanced brain, never going to deteriorate. Never. But how much can you be cyberly augmented to before you stop becoming human? But the goal would you continue to augment so that you can reach the ocean of immortality. So they're cyborgs. That's the first one. The second group is, we'll call them synths or synthetics. These are artificially intelligent beings. They're humanoid robots with advanced AI designed to appear and often act human. These synths or synthetics, they look like humans. They may even talk and act like humans, but they're artificially intelligent beings. They're humanoid robots. They're not really human. And of course, they can last forever. They're completely synthetic. They're synths, but they look human. They may talk human. They may even be able to show human emotion. They may be able to communicate with you. It's like, think of an AI chatbot, but taken to the most extreme, because now it's not just something you're chatting with or talking with on your device. It's now embodied. It's a synth, and it's not just like it's like it looks human, talks human, acts human, but it's not human. All right. So we have cyborgs, we have synths or synthetics. The third group that's mentioned right here this is 5 seconds into the show, okay? You're 5 seconds into the show and you're already like, okay, the world is populated with these three guises, or I think that's the words used in the opening. It's words on the screen. Just go watch it. All right, but there's these three groups. So we've got the cyborgs, we've got the synths, and the third one, they're hybrids. Now, these are synthetic bodies, so it's not a human body, it's a synthetic body, but actual human consciousness has been downloaded into this synthetic body. So now you've effectively merged a human mind or human consciousness with an artificial form. Now, if you can take human consciousness, the essence of who I am, and download it into a synthetic body, well, then now you're on the way to the ocean of immortality, because all you got to do is keep that body going. And even if that body wears out, you just take my consciousness and put it in another body. And so I could be here for 100, 500, 1,000, as long as there's someone to keep putting my consciousness in a new body. If that body wears out, I could go on forever and ever 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 and ever. And not only that, just think of the benefits of being in a synthetic body. It doesn't get old. It doesn't lose its hair. The hair doesn't turn gray. You could be put in a 25-year-old synthetic body and you could be 25 forever in your physical capability. Oh, imagine that. Oh, sign me up for the hybrid. Come on, Elon, take Zuckerberg, someone take my consciousness and put it in a synthetic body today. Come on, I'm on my way. Just try it. The worst that can happen is I die. Let's try it. All right. Those are the three groups. Cyborgs, again, cybernetically enhanced human individual who retain a living human body, but they're augmented with mechanical or artificial parts. The second is synths or synthetics. These are artificial intelligent beings, humanoid robots with advanced AI designed to appear and often act human. And then you have hybrids, synthetic body, into which actual human consciousness has been downloaded effectively. All right? The opening transmission reveals these three forms in the immortality race: cyborgs, synths, and hybrids. In short, three groups inhabit Earth at the start of alien Earth, and they are cyborgs, they are synths, and they're hybrids, if I can speak correctly. All right? So there's no question about it. That's how the show begins. But, I think this is important because it's just implied here. Humans are still present in the world of the show. The narration, we could say, the words on the screen emphasizes the three classes and the race of immortality, but that's not the same thing as saying ordinary humans no longer exist. So ordinary humans exist in a world populated by cyborgs, synthetics, and hybrids. And then you just have the lowly human whose body breaks down, wears out, dies, gets old, doesn't look perfect, has all kinds of imperfections from losing hair, wrinkles, whatever the case may be. You get the idea. Now, what would it be like to be human in a world like this? Now, I think what would be the difference is the humans, these would be the humans who can't afford to have their consciousness downloaded into a synthetic body. So it's going to be the haves and the have-not. We could get into a whole discussion about class warfare at that point. So technically, when you watch Alien Earth, FX's Alien Earth, humans are unmodified, still present on Earth, though increasingly marginalized compared to the others. Cyborgs are enhanced humans with cybernetics. Synths are artificial intelligence in humanoid form. And hybrids are those with human consciousness uploaded into their synthetic bodies. The three categories are the focus because they represent the new dominant classes and the struggle over technology, power, and survival. But if you're really paying attention to the show, there's the four groups. And if you and the regular humans are right there in the midst of this, which makes it fascinating. Are you a cyborg? Are you a synth? Are you a hybrid? What are you? Are you a human? And these all operate within the same planet. So then this raises some questions. Right? That's just the setup. We haven't even gotten into 5 seconds into the show. Okay, we're like 10 seconds into the show, and I'm already going, where's my notebook? I need to start writing a book. I'm already hooked at this point. I don't even need to see an opening scene. I'm already like, what is this? This is fascinating. All right, 4 groups. And let's make it very clear. This is not the first show to present this kind of situation. It's not the first, nor will it be the last. Some of them that's kind of presented this kind of concept go further back, but they were further removed from the present. And the present, when you do a show like this, I think we're much closer to this in reality. So I think the question is this a plausible future? Is it a plausible future? Well, let's take cyborgs. Enhanced humans. Aren't we kind of already there? We have things, we already have implants and different things that can be added to the body, like an artificial leg, an artificial arm. We have lots of different things already there. We have Elon Musk Neuralink, like this kind of neural interface. We've kind of got exoskeletons. I think if tech keeps advancing, human-machine integration could accelerate, and I think it can. Right? We have lots of different things, artificial limbs, things to help with this, adding to this. Now, I know it's not as far as like, a full-blown cyborg, but just as something that enhances a human by adding it in some kind of a machine kind of way, technological way. I think, and as science and technology advances, is that not only going to become, I think it's going to become more and more and more and more prevalent. It's going to become more and more available. Now, it will only be available to those who can afford it, only to those who may have an insurance plan that will pay for it. But then, do insurance companies really want to pay for it? Because the more you get these advancements, then you don't need insurance, right? Because if these advancements will last for, I guess you'll get a new kind of insurance. I don't know. But all right, we can get into all kinds of social questions. So I think cyborgs are already here to it. I know when we say cyborgs, we're thinking of something truly far out. But I'm saying from a very technical standpoint, I think we're already there. With artificial limbs, different kinds of implants, neural interfaces, the Neuralink by Elon Musk, these different kinds of concepts, things that, that we'll be able to do to control with our mind. I think in some ways we're already there. I mean, I could try to go through all the different descriptions in a more detailed way, but you're getting the basic idea. I don't want to turn it into 35 minutes of trying to talk about all the cyborgs, because I think in a roundabout way, everyone can say, okay, I can see that. In a roundabout way, cyborgs are already here. It's nothing, we don't see it as weird. We don't even see it as odd. We don't see that, oh, you're not really human. I mean, it's just like, oh, you've got an artificial leg. You've got this, you've got that. You've got all these different things. Okay, we see it as a way to improve, a way to help, the way to preserve, the way to keep the world going. I mean, like a pacemaker, right? We already have these kinds of things. We're used to them. We don't feel like it's science fiction. We would not label a person a cyborg, but from a technical definition, it's cyborg light. Is that a good way of describing it? But what does it look like 10 years from now? What does it look like 5 years from now? Now, what about synths or synthetics or humanoids or AI humanoids? Well, AI already mimics human conversation. That's what it tries to do. It tries to mimic it. AI can already mimic art. And we already know there's been the big controversy lately on Spotify where you have these artificial intelligence, and it's artificial intelligence, but it's produced and to look like and sound like a band. But it's artificial intelligence, so it's mimicking human art. It tries to mimic to some level human reasoning. I'm not saying it's reasoning, it tries to mimic it. I'm not saying it's actually reasoning, but it tries to mimic it. And I think robotics may be behind AI in realism, but if you combine the two, humanoid synths, I think, are plausible. I think it's plausible, right? And there are developments, how can I describe this? With a robot that is there to help satisfy you in an intimate way. I've got entire news articles about it, right? Okay, well, that's already going in that direction, right? And those things cost a lot of money, and they are selling pretty good based on some of the articles I have read. So you have AI. Now, all you have to do is get AI and some form of human body that becomes more and more natural looking, more and more natural movements, and then you kind of already are there with synthetics. Cyborg, we're already there to some level, and we're going to continue to see how do we improve the body? What can we do technologically? What can we add to the human body? What can we do? I think that's going to continue to go in that direction. And then AI, as it continues to develop, well, the better AI becomes, obviously the natural question, well, how can I get AI inside a body? And then I basically I can create my own friend. I can create my own lover. I can create my own whatever partner. Well, I don't, just give me an AI partner. Okay. That's, you can see where that's going. I mean, that's clearly already underway. So the first two, I think, are not only already under development, and here we're going to see that more and more and more. It's the third category that I don't know if possible, plausible. I don't even know how we would define it theologically. And that is the hybrid, the mind upload, where you take human consciousness and you upload it into a synthetic form, a synthetic body. Now, I think this is the part that's most speculative, because scientists doesn't really know how to map, how to copy, or how to transfer human consciousness. They don't have no clue. I think we can simulate behavior. We can create something that will simulate human behavior, but I don't think we can. In this case, it wouldn't even be simulating behavior. This would be trying to have behavior that flows from human consciousness. This would be like the true self, or do we call it the soul? And I think all of that remains a mystery to the most brilliant minds on earth. So I think it's a massive leap to say consciousness could be transplanted into a machine. I don't know if we could ever get that. I don't think it's even possible. I mean, it would be fascinating for it to occur, because then you could be you, and you could just be put into a body that could last forever, that would be perpetually young, perpetually healthy, perpetually ready to go. You could create a body that never even needs sleep. Oh man, give me that. So cyborgs and synths, I say, are not only plausible, possible, I think it's already in some ways on its way. Hybrids, I think that's very speculative, but science fiction does have a way of anticipating where things are headed. I think it does. I really think it does. I really, science fiction loves doing that. So what is the theological implication if such a future was to come to pass? Well, Christians insist that humans are embodied souls created in God's image. We would look to Genesis 1:26-27. Our humanity is not just my mind, but it's kind of a union of body, mind, and spirit. Maybe we could say it that way. So if you could just take consciousness and put it in a body, would that still be human? Would that be a human? And I know that's the most speculative part, but if I could take consciousness, if you just took my consciousness, would I cease to be human? See, that gets into a question of how do we define human? Now, mortality is clearly tied to sin in the Bible. Genesis 3, Romans 5. The pursuit of immortality through technology, many would say, is essentially trying to be a replay of Eden, grasping eternal life apart from God, trying to grasp eternal life without God. Oh, I want eternal life, but I don't want God. I want immortality, but I don't want God. I want to be able to obtain, and I don't want to wait till eternity. I want eternity and I want immortality right here, right now. Now, on one hand, it's easy to condemn that, but there's a little bit, all of us want immortality to some way, shape, or form, right? I mean, don't you do things to preserve and prolong your life? Don't you maybe try to eat, try to exercise? We all do things to prolong it. I mean, as much as we say, I can't wait to get to heaven, we sure like to prolong our time here, do we not? So if we can prolong it here, where's the line? If you like, okay, we can do this and this and this, and you can live for 300 years, and you would be healthy, happy, or at least healthy, and nothing would deteriorate, and you would have strength and stamina, and it would be, the quality of life would be better than the quality of life you're currently having. Would you take that? Are we saying, nah, I'm done. I'm good. Yeah, I'm checking out. I'm good. Just let me die. Maybe some would. But man, 300 years and a body that doesn't wear down? I don't know. That'd be pretty cool. Oh, think of all the things you'd see in the next 300 years. I don't know. But it would be immortality. Mortality is tied to sin. The wages of sin is death. So I think, and ultimately we would have to say, from a theological perspective, could man ever even achieve something like that? But improving our ability to live for 300 years is not crossing into immortality. It's still mortality. It's just expanded. So are we doing something wrong when people in the Bible live to be very, 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 very old? If we found a way technologically to get back to living very, very, very old, is that crossing some line? Because, I mean, the whole thing about health and preventive health is try to allow people to live longer and longer and longer. There used to be a time the life expectancy was very young. Now you've improved it. So is that wrong? So you say, well, it's okay to improve it to 80, but you can't improve it to 250. So I don't see that as playing God. So Christianity would have, does it mean to be human? Mortality is tied to sin. So, but when do you cross the line of trying to escape that mortality? We keep talking about that. And then resurrection, not upload. God's promise is a resurrection, not some digital upload of my human consciousness. The biblical future is not humans preserved in machines, but bodily resurrection in Christ. But again, if you can transfer my consciousness and I still maintain being a human and I can live for 2, 3, 4, 500 years, am I foregoing? Am I doing something wrong? Because if you preserve human life expectancy from 40 to 80, were you doing something wrong? I say that's a slippery slope right there. So if the world like alien Earth was to emerge, cyborgs, the line between healing and hubris becomes blurred. An artificial leg, does it glorify God? Is it glorify God as a gift of creativity? But if we go with replacing half your body to become superhuman, does that become an act of self-deification? Where is the line? A prosthetic leg? Good to go. You're good to go with a prosthetic leg. An artificial limb? You're good to go. But no. If you replace half of your body to become superhuman, no. That's deification. You've gone too far. So you could replace an arm, you could replace a leg. That's okay. But no, you can't do more because now it's deification. Who draws that? Is that not such a subjective line? You can do this much in the cyborg category, but you go this far, now you are in sin. I'm not a fan of that kind of subjective morality. I'm not a fan of that. Not. I think if you replace, you're not going to replace the soul. You're not going to replace the consciousness, right? So if you're replacing different parts and organs that are artificial and it prolongs your life, gives you greater stamina ability, is that deification? So I'm not so sure about that. If someone goes to the gym and at one point they can lift 100 pounds, now they can lift 250 or 300, and they can run faster, lift more, do more, is that deification? Now, so cyborgs, I don't know where we could really draw the line on that. With sense, now this raises the question, if we make AI in our own image, are we playing God? And if does it gain personhood? What is its moral status? Does it bear God's image? Does it reflect our coding, but not God's breath? What is it? Now, I don't think we would see it as human, but it would be hard not to see it as human. If artificial intelligence in a human-like body becomes so human-like, do you not see? And if you don't, now just think what happens. Here's all these synths walking around, sound like human, look like human. Everything about them is human. and you stop treating them as humans, or you deny them any kinds of rights, how easy would then not to be treat an actual human that way? That one would get interesting on how to manage that. Now the hybrids becomes really the theologically, this is the most radical category. A downloaded mind? Does it simply act like you, but is it really you? Christianity would say the true self is body plus soul, indivisible. A hybrid is more like an idol, an imitation of man, but not the actual person God created. Or is that an oversimplification? And then you would have, in this world, you would have just normal humans. So just think where humans would be in this category. You got these other three categories: cyborgs, synths, and hybrids. And there would be lowly people. And those lowly people, would they be a reminder of God's created order? And wouldn't God's created order at that point be despised and seen as obsolete, weak, and archaic and a thing of the past? And would you humans just shut up and get out of the way? Because these other categories are stronger, more capable, more dominant. So what is some of the deeper theological meaning of FX's alien Earth? Well, if such a future comes about, I think it would dramatize truths Christianity already proclaims. I think it would in some ways. Human longing for immortality is real. I mean, that's just a fact. People want to live forever. Nobody really wants to die. I mean, I think that's built into us. We fight for ourselves. Christians love to say, "Oh, I'm ready for Jesus," as people in our churches have guns on their hips to stop from anyone being killed. "Oh, I'm ready to go to Jesus, but I got 15 guns in my house in case, even though I live in a town of 200, just in case someone breaks through the front door, I can put 40 rounds of bullets into them." It sounds like you want to live. We lock our doors, we wear seatbelts, we take medicine because we want to live. There is something built into us because I think we all long for. I mean, if you are living and you're conscious, I think inevitably our nature says, I don't want to die. I want to live forever. Unless something is horribly, horribly wrong. So this pursuit of cyborgs or synths or hybrids is just that pursuit of immortality that's built inside of all of us. Because we're created by an eternal God. So in a sense, the desire for eternity is in all of us. Maybe we could say it that way. However, technology cannot fix sin, or can it fix death? I know this, that even if my conscience could be uploaded into a body, guess what I'm carrying over with it? I'm going to carry my corrupt nature, right? I mean, would I carry my corrupt nature? Would I carry my selfishness, my pride, my despair? Would I care? Now, that's a question. If you transfer consciousness, what comes with it? And if it comes with a sinful nature, now I would be in a synthetic body with greater ability, but with the same sin nature. You can't get rid of a sin nature. God put some people on a boat and wiped out the entire earth. But when he opened the door of that boat, that ark, that sin nature was right there present from the word go. So is this the Tower of Babel in a sense? Humanity once again uniting to teach uniting in tech, I should say it that way, to make a name for ourselves? Is this the Tower of Babel all over again? We're going to be united in technology to make a name for ourselves. Is Christ the only one true hybrid? He's the one who unites divinity and humanity, the real bridge between mortal flesh and eternal life. Everything else would just be a counterfeit hybrid. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. Could we say that if the truth of if Alien Earth points to the truth of where we are headed, would that new future Would it be the dawn of salvation, or would it not be the dawn of salvation? Would it simply be the unveiling of humanity's oldest sin, trying to seize godhood through human hands? I don't know. I'm just speculating. Now, what are some of the key takeaways from Alien Earth, FX's Alien Earth, that you can stream right now? Well, I think takeaway number one is I think this is the case, that the real monster in Alien Earth is not the alien, it's the humans. I think the series shifts the horror focus away from the monster, from the alien, to depict humans itself, corporations. Now, if you even go back to the early Alien movie, I mean, they're being haunted by these aliens, but is it the aliens or is it the corporation? Is it the people sent them there? Is it I mean, we could get into that kind of discussion, but I think Alien Earth may really make it clear that corporations that are commodifying consciousness, they're exploiting children, they're wielding technology without any moral restraint. And one review puts it this way. This is one review, and I quote, "The real villain in Alien Earth are the humans, driven by corporate greed and cruelty." So if humans are the real villains, synthetics would be better, right? But if synthetics, artificial intelligence in a humanoid form, if they're created by people, would our sinful nature cannot be transferred to them. So could we not create a synthetic without a sinful nature? Therefore, synthetics would be better. And if we could transfer consciousness into a synthetic body, and that consciousness does not bring the sinful nature, then could you not get the utopian earth that we all long for? Because then you would have a whole race of humans who have human consciousness and bodies that can last forever, but do so without sinful nature. Now, I'm not saying you can transfer look, I don't even think you can ever be able to transfer consciousness, but if you could without the sinful nature. But the humans are the villains because from a theological standpoint, we're the sinners. We have a depraved nature. Whether lost or saved, we have a depraved nature. And that's why sin is all we do 24/7 to some level, to some extent. So humanity is the real monster. And I think Alien Earth demonstrates that. I think the Alien movies do that. I think another theme is corporate power and kind of this technocratic dystopia. I don't know how to describe it, right? Earth in 2120 is ruled not by governments, but by powerful mega corporations. The world is controlled by corporations, and they control life, they control death, and they control even immortality. So I think we have this technocratic dystopia, this corporate power. I think another thing we have in Alien Earth is identity and the nature of consciousness. At its heart, Alien Earth probes what it means to be human. Wendy is a girl whose consciousness has been transferred into a synthetic body, part of a controversial hybrid program. This raises complex identity questions. What defines personhood when biology is, in a sense, separated from consciousness, or it's grouped with consciousness? What do you do with that? So you have this identity, the nature of consciousness, what makes a person, all of that is in the show. Now, there's a lot else going on here. There's a lot, but I'm already at 54 minutes, so I don't even have time to get through 90% of my notes and the different things. I have to get to this, because this is the most fascinating thing of Alien Earth to me, right? Because that book I found as a child is called Peter Pan. And when you watch Alien Earth, what blew me away was, wait a minute, how did Peter Pan end up in Alien? I was like, what drugs did I take before I started watching this? What is happening here? In fact, I think it's surprising. The show is heavily interwoven with Peter Pan references. The tech mogul in the show names his island Neverland. He names his synthetic children Lost Boys. The one, his prize synthetic is Wendy, and this creates a dark, twisted fairy tale overload. In fact, I think it's overlay. I guess I should say it's overloads my mind because there's just so much. I'm like, where did Peter Pan come in with this? So the question is, why Peter Pan? Why did the directors and writers bring Peter Pan into the alien universe? Well, I think Neverland is a form of escape, right? The story, Peter Pan, Neverland is a place where children never grow up. In Alien Earth, the tech mogul, the boy, creates his own Neverland, an island refuge where children's consciousness is preserved by uploading them into synthetic bodies. So you've got these children, their consciousness have been uploaded in bodies that look like they're 20, look like they're grown, but they act like children because they have the consciousness they act like the Lost Boys in Peter Pan. It's really weird to see. It's kind of a dark mirror to Peter Pan. It's an artificial paradise that denies aging, denies death, and in some ways denies change. Or will their consciousness develop in real and normal time? There's a lot we could get into. Wendy and the Lost Boys, the show even names one of its central child characters Wendy, echoing Peter Pan's Wendy, who in a sense is their kind of the mother for the Lost Boys. The children are literally lost in this show. They're robbed of their humanity and they're suspended in a permanent twilight between life and death. And this idea of refusal to grow up, Peter Pan symbolizes eternal childhood, innocence preserved at all cost. In Alien Earth, that same refusal to grow up becomes almost horrific in a way. It's a grotesque immortality where children never live their full human lives. Or, depending on how you want to look at it. By using Peter Pan, I think in a roundabout way, the show is saying that immortality equals arrested development. Humanity's obsession with never dying is at root a refusal to accept maturity, to accept limitation, to accept mortality. Like Peter Pan, the world of Alien Earth doesn't want to grow up. It wants to stay in Neverland forever. And I understand that because I love the book. And the Peter Pan imagery in Alien Earth, I think, is showing childhood innocence is corrupted. The children in the story aren't living in freedom, but they're trapped in experiments. What should be a symbol of purity becomes exploitation. Escapism is dangerous. Is that kind of another idea of the Peter Pan imagery? Just as Neverland is an escape from the real world, so too Alien Earth critiques our technological escapism, trying to code our way out of death instead of facing the truth of it. So I guess I'm at 59 minutes. I didn't even get into all the things I want to say about Peter Pan. Just watch it, and if you know Peter Pan, you're gonna be like, whoa, this is all over the place. So I'll just give you, if you decide to watch FX's Alien Earth, and if you just, I don't know if you've watched the new episode, if you've watched all the other episodes and you're going to watch the new episode tonight, here is what you need for your discussion group. It just may be you, yourself, and yourself. That's okay. If it's just you, have the conversation with you. All right. Here's some. Let's think of ethical limits of science. Here's kind of how I have for the discussion question. Is pursuing immortality through synthetic bodies morally defensible? Is it ever And is it morally defensible if it harms children? Now, if I think if it harms children, we almost immediately said it's not morally defensible. So let's leave the children part out. Let's just let's do it this way. Is pursuing immortality through synthetic bodies morally defensible? Now, I will say we already pursue longevity in life through all kinds of ways. So, but where is that line? If I can pursue 300 years of life, is that wrong? But if I pursue immortality, then it becomes wrong. Is it just the link that makes it wrong? Oh, that gets into some subjective. That's a good discussion to have. Another would be what makes us human. If consciousness can be transferred, but the body is replaced, do I remain the same? If my consciousness is taken out of this body and put in a synthetic body, all right, immediate benefits, that body's going to be better, can be better looking, better everything, right? But does it take my sin nature with it? And if it doesn't, oh, man, get that technology going now, because humans in our current state, we're trash, we're garbage, okay? That's why we do all the horrible things we do. So what makes us actually human? A third discussion thing would be corporate versus human identity. Does technology and capital, let's state it this way. Do technology and capital corrupt essential human values? Does technology and capital, technology and corporations and money, does it corrupt essential human values? I'm going to argue that what corrupts human values is that human values are in and of themselves corrupt. Values created by people are corrupt because we are corrupt by nature. So we have to find value from something outside of ourselves, which is why religion of all kinds says, here is what are real values. And they're supposed to come from some divine source, because humans in and of themselves, we are corrupt. Not only are we corrupt, even if we get a value system, we will corrupt that value system because we're corrupt. So I don't know if anything corrupts us. I think we corrupt everything. I think technology and capital does not corrupt us. It simply may be used for us to do corrupt things, or we may corrupt it. I'm having the discussion with myself. All right, I'm sorry. You can just go away now. I'm just having the discussion with myself. I'm just going to stop there. I just saw 62 minutes. I'm looking at all the other things I wrote down. I'm just going to stop right there. I got like 15 pages. I didn't even get no. Why? Who created time? Find me the person. Bring me the person who created time. Okay. Now, all right. 63 minutes. Oh, we didn't even really get past the opening scene. I guess we got a little further in because we introduced Wendy. All right. She's the main character. Okay. And we introduced the Lost Boys. These are these kids whose consciousness have been turned into these, have been downloaded into these synthetic bodies. We talked about that. We talked about the cyborg. We talked about everything in Alien Earth, other than we didn't really start breaking down any episodes. But I don't want to do that because that would ruin it, right? So you at least now you know what you're getting into. I don't like that you know what you're getting into. But the show's been there, 3-4 weeks now. You should have already caught on, all right? But now go watch it and you can tell me what you think. I guess here are the questions. Do you think it's our future? And if you do, how are we going to understand it theologically? And most importantly, Peter Pan is awesome. And the fact that they use Peter Pan, even though they turn it into dark, twisted, it's amazing. Now, am I saying the movie is godly or the show is godly? I am not making any claims like that. It's a story. Stories can be moral. They can be quote unquote immoral, but they tell a story. The story of Lot's daughters getting him drunk and having incestual relationship with him. That's not a good story. What happens in the end of Judges, what they do to that woman and all the horror. I mean, They're stories of what happened. Now, and that, in the case of the Bible, they're telling you historical accounts. In fictional stories, they're giving you fictional stories about what happens within the world that they have created. You make the moral judgment about the story and about what it's trying to say. Sometimes it can be a very horrible story, but that's the whole point. It's trying to teach a moral lesson. So how you interpret art is of great importance. I'm not telling you to watch anything. I'm just telling you it's there. Here's what it's about. And it offers a million philosophical, theological discussion points. And it's fascinating. And it borrows from one of the most beloved childhood books of all time, Peter Pan. And it mixes it in the alien universe. That's pretty awesome to me. And I think it takes the alien universe and goes in a direction where I wish some of the other alien movies would have taken it, instead of just kind of retelling alien on ship. Alien tries to kill everyone. You get the basic story. I think this takes it a little further. So some people will say it moves too slow. I've seen reviews like that because they just want monsters and death. But there's all these brilliant philosophical concepts. So if you watch it, great. If you don't, you don't. You know it's there. It's on Hulu, FX's Alien Earth. Stream it today if you want to. Don't if you're going to be morally offended or it goes against your consciousness, then don't. Unless your consciousness has been transferred over. Never mind. Okay, I don't know. Am I talking to people? Am I talking to cyborgs? Am I talking to synths? Am I talking to hybrids? Am I talking to humans? I don't know who I'm talking to. You hear the thunder in the background? I got a storm coming. All right. Thanks for listening. Everyone have a great day. God bless.